We're hoping to find a scree field and a ramp system that will take us to the summit. The route to the summit is not apparent at all. You see, we really can't hike to the main crest because of the cliff there. And then the cliff in broken fashion cuts across the face of Umpleby. And there appear to be maybe 3 or 4 arêtes which might lead to the top, but you get to share my successes and failures on this. We'll have to do some exploration. Let's head for that second arête. There's a 50-50 chance that it'll open up for us. We are approaching the moment of truth. We're at a resting spot on the moment, with what looks to be an easier stretch ahead of us. We have a nice view of Meadow Peak, 10,600 feet across Bell Mountain Canyon. And it looks like the scrambling will get easier for us. Some things in life you have to take just one step at a time. That's about where we're at now. The worst is past us. The scree isn't too bad up here as we head towards the summit cone. Looks like Ovis canadensis has been here before us. This is where the mountain goat lives, right at the top. Joseph B. Umpleby worked as a geologist for the U.S. Geological Survey, and as such he represents the second generation of geologists after the likes of Ferdinand van der Verheyden and Orestes St. John to explore in this region. However, it was Umpleby who did the first complete survey of the Lemhi range. In terms of geology, topography, and geography. So we'd like to take this opportunity to name a Lemhi peak for him. 10,713 foot. Umpleby Peak, first climbed today, July 7th, 1991. The peak that we're standing on is in Lemhi County, Idaho, and it is fitting that Umpleby's first work of note was the geology and ore deposits of Lemhi County, published in 1913. That's when he did his survey of the Lemhis. Shortly thereafter, in 1917, he published the geology and ore deposits of the Mackay region, and he got into the Lemhis in more detail. It's interesting to note that subsequent generations of geologists have all quoted Joe Umpleby, Kirkham, Anderson, Clyde Ross, all use Umpleby as their main source material. Now granted, Umpleby doesn't write about some of the current theories of geology as expounded by Alton Heinemann, namely that of plate tectonics and the meteor hotspot, which created much of the rock here in central Idaho. Nonetheless, we can consider Joseph B. Umpleby a pioneer in his field. The obligatory cairn and summit register. That's the canyon and scree field we came up. Apart from what I just told you about Umpleby, I really don't know too much about him. I don't believe he was from Idaho. He talks about coming west to do his surveys in the summers of 1910, and then again I believe in 1913. And if anybody knows more about him, I'd appreciate learning additional information. Peaks to our south, the Incredible Hulk, Rust Peak, 12,197-foot Diamond Peak. To its right, the hardest peak to climb in the range, Riddler, although the Moment of Truth arête that we just came up isn't too far behind in difficulty. The Clapper and Goats Are Us are two recent first ascents on the crest of the Lemhi. And it's fitting that Umpleby, a geologist, has a peak named for another geologist, Robert N. Bell. Bell was Idaho's first state mines inspector, and he's somebody I wish I had known. If you read his turn-of-the-century annual mining reports, he is a real upbeat cheerleader for the mining industry. And I'm sure he helped promote a lot of mining in his time. Looking across Birch Creek Valley to 18 Mile Peak and the Continental Divide, the Beaverhead Range. The mining industry in this area started at Nicolia in the year 1880 with the discovery of lead and silver at the Viola mine. A smelter was soon built there. Looking west across the Little Lost River Valley, we see the state's highest peak, Bora Peak. The Lost River Range had virtually no mining. Now to the west of our peak we look at the part of the Hamilton mining district. It's basing our canyon, and you see some workings down in there. To our north along the main crest of the Lemhi Range we see some once productive mining areas. Immediately to our north is Sheep Mountain or Spring Mountain, and that's the name of that mining district. And then a little further beyond towards Portland Mountain and Gilmore Peak we see the Texas mining district. Way in the distance, looking towards Salmon, Idaho, we would have the McDevitt mining district. Mining is all of a bygone era here. And even though today it seems like a useless extractive type of economy, nonetheless we should pay homage to the early miners who really brought civilization and development here to the state of Idaho. Now would you like to touch something as old as the dinosaurs, maybe 65 million years old, in the dolomite rock right on the summit? We have a coral, fossilized coral, and there's another fossilized coral. awesome that the summit was once a seabed, supporting the very first forms of life on our planet. We'll be heading down shortly, and I think we'll look for another descent route under looking for more stable scree conditions that will take us down around that rock band. The fossils up here are really interesting. I don't know what they are, except that this one, pardon me, looks like fossilized doo-doo. Descending Umpleby, we find there is an easier way down than we came up. It's an easy run down the scree field, and then just picking your way across the side hill here. And then you see there are some easy ledges, class 2 to 3, and that'll take you to the main crest, and then it's a fun run down into Bell Mountain Canyon. So that moment of truth class 4 exposure route would not be the advised way to climb this peak. I enjoyed this opportunity to hike along the main crest of the Lemhi because there's so little of the main crest that's hikeable. I have to laugh at so-called experts of climbing guides who pass over the Lemhi range saying there's nothing of interest for the serious mountaineer in this weathered, rounded range. Tell me that's not rugged. But on just about all of the peaks there is at least one easy way up, so there is something for everybody. And the easy way to climb Umpleby is along the ledge system and up the scree. Although tedious, it's not exposed and would be reasonably enjoyable. And if you like backcountry ski runs, skiing down the cirque of Bell Mountain Canyon and then out through that lovely meadow which we hiked up, it'd be real enjoyable at the right time of year. Let's share a couple of moments of our life with this struggling limber pine on the main crest of the Lemhi Range. Do you mind if I nitpick for a moment on our most up-to-date best maps, the USGS topographical maps? Bell Mountain is shown as being on the orographic divide. But in actuality it isn't. The orographic divide would go up here to that point right there and then along there. So water flowing off the summit of Bell Mountain would have to flow in Basinger Canyon or Black Canyon. In any event, both of those canyons are on the western side of the Lemhi Range. Again, this is just nitpicking, but what that means is that Targhee National Forest has just lost a mountain and Chalice National Forest has just gained a mountain, because the orographic divide is the dividing line between the two national forests at this point. So, in descending, we find that this would be the best way to come up to the top of the head wall, and then up the scree field. And what you have to look forward to is an easy descent. And the one good thing about a poor man's horse, he'll always wait for you. Although I must admit a horse sounds better and even smells better at that. The charcoal kilns